Danyale Washington here with us from Sweet Pea Solutions. We're in for a real treat. She's a wonderful, wonderful mediator, and she's a certified doula, so she has a lot of experience in this area. We're really excited to have her back for a second year. So, Danyale.
Of course. Well, firstly, thank you for spending time with me on your weekend, this snowy, crazy weekend that we're having. This is the most Chicago Midwest winter that we had in a really long time. So I guess we were due for it. So we are going to get into potty training today. So we will cover the signs of readiness, which is one of the biggest things, right? So I started with that because, oh yes.
19 months.
19 months, okay. So, okay, just under 2. So I have to do the math. Been out of school for a while. Okay, so just under 2, wonderful. We'll talk about preparation, the 3-phase method. So if anyone in here has ever talked about, if you heard about the 3-day method? No, okay, that's a first. So the 3-day method is where you kind of put all of it into like a weekend, and I kind of adapted it to the 3-phase method because I wanted to take away the pressure of if it doesn't happen in 3 days, you failed. Because as we know, potty training is very different for every family. So I want to make sure that we have more of an idea of what it looks like to progress through the different phases, if that makes sense. So that is what we are. So we have any other ages in the chat? No, that's okay. No problem. I want to make sure I get it in there. And then we're going to talk about pooping in the potty, and that's separate for a reason because that is a separate beast that we have to worry about. And as well as nighttime training and handling regression. So we'll talk about all of that today. Now, when we talk about potty training, this is a little bit about me, sorry. I am, as Gretchen has said, I call myself a serial support person. I really just love helping families. I started with nannying. I worked with children from anywhere from a couple months all the way up to 8 to 9 years old throughout my nanny career. And then I became a doula, which is helping new and expectant parents. And now I kind of put it all in a beautiful ball of just supporting families, especially in the early years, because it's a lot. It's a lot of rapid growth and development that happens, and I love to be that bridge. So all of those fancy letters and titles and all that is really just me making sure that I have well-rounded information, knowledge, and skills to support families in all of the various ways that I do. So this is what a lot of people feel when we talk about potty training, right? It's kind of a big thing, both for parents and caregivers and children. And I like to kind of start out by saying, who here knows any adults that are still in diapers? Anyone? Well, able. Yes, right. Able-bodied, right? I mean, like, within a certain realm, right? And I like to say that because it will happen, right? I want to just normalize that at some point they will get it and they will get out of diapers, right? And if there are any reasons why they need to be in it longer, that does not mean that that's indicative of your parenting or caregiving style, right? Everyone has their own journeys. But my wish for you and my goal at the end of this workshop is that you feel confident in your abilities to be able to support your child or children on their journey, right? That is the aim, that is the goal. And please, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. We want to answer real time. This is interactive. You don't have to just listen to me talk. Yes, go ahead.
Another age, 2 years and 4 months.
Okay, look at that. 2 years, 4 months, 2 years, 8 months, right there. You guys are in the same stratosphere. Fabulous. Thank you. So some signs of readiness, and we can send, well, this is in the packet that you guys will all get, but for you here in person, here is a little bit of a checkpoint. And she can take one too if she wants to write. If she's like my daughter, who likes to be involved. So you're so welcome. So we're going to talk about signs of readiness. So there's body awareness, desire for cleanliness, muscle mastery, development of routine, and curiosity about the potty. You guys will get these slides, so don't worry about it. You don't have to try to get everything down in your notes if you're a note taker. And we're going to go through these each one by one. So no need to fret. And if you can ask any questions as we go through these parts on the beginning slide. So our first one is body awareness. This is what you were speaking to. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Adriana. We were speaking about this before the workshop. Children at some point start to realize that their body expels things, right? Before that, they're kind of in diapers, very passive. They kind of just do it and then it goes away because we change their diaper. At some point, they start to realize that things are coming out of them, and it's usually when they're pooping. So if you have any children that was a special place, like our friend Ileana here, who's got a pooping tent, that's great. For my daughter, it was going into the corner of our playroom. It was a very specific corner of her playroom. Every time she had to poop, that's a great first sign of them having their body awareness. They might also start to verbalize, and sometimes they say poop for everything or pee for everything. So they kind of generalize it. We're like, I pooped. But you're like, no, you just peed. That's still great, right? They're just realizing that something came out, right? That's a great, great first time. Anything? Oh, sorry. Now when you move, I'm gonna be like, oh. Does anyone, whether in the chat or if you you said yes, you saw this. Anyone on Zoom, is this ringing a bell? You don't have to, everybody, if you do, put it in the chat, because I'd love to know. So any questions about body awareness? Sounds good. I know sometimes it takes a while to get to the chat on Zoom, depending on where you're at. We've got time today, guys, so even if it comes up afterwards, we can go back. Okay, the next one is desire for cleanliness. And this one's kind of a funny one because it's like twofold. There's the first part of like, they don't like to be in a wet diaper. So this is where they start to take their diapers off, right? They're like, get this thing off of me. They might even do the dreaded playing in their diaper. So they take it off and they like play with the poop and get like, a little Picasso. I thankfully did not have that with either of mine, but I've got some friends and colleagues that did. That's another one, or they demand a change, where they're like, I get this diaper off of me. That's a great sign. Not yet, it's okay. And I want to say that this is a great time that you said that. You don't have to have all or even any of these to do them. These are just great benchmarks, I like to call them, to know where they are on the line, right? Because depending on how many they exhibit is going to impact how much you have to kind of help them through it. Does that make sense? Yeah. They also might dislike, this is why I said it's a twofold. They might also dislike it in their diaper change because now it's personal. You'll hear me talk about shame and guilt, and not that you're shaming or making your child feel guilty, but there's just this inherent shame that children have, especially when it's something that they don't like, right? Or something that's foreign to them. So you might start to realize, like, don't touch me. Like, I don't,
Her dad, because I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
So she doesn't like her dad.
okay, yeah,
And it just started.
yeah, and that's because she's starting to realize that like there's this thing happening. You're a safe person. Not that her dad's not safe, but you're her person, right? Where's my Grey's Anatomy fans, right? You're her person. So she wants you to do that, right? And sometimes it's grandparents. Sometimes it's, for my daughter, it was my son. Like we joke that that's like our third parent. She absolutely loves and adores him. And then they might be tugging or moving their diaper, like I said, when they're getting changed. So that just means it kind of goes hand in hand with the body awareness, right? They're just kind of like, I know something happened and I'm not sure if I like it. Yeah. Right? Any questions about this? Okay, and we're back. Is it a good pace? Is this real good? Okay, because I get excited about things and I can like, okay. Next is muscle mastery. So I get the question all the time, like, which benchmark should I really be looking for? I like to say muscle mastery is up there, and only because the less they can do on their own, more hands falls on the caregiver, right? So then that means you need a little bit more capacity. And what I mean by muscle mastery is the ability to walk independently. So I feel like with like the last 10 years, they said that the potty training age has now gone a little bit later, right? It used to be like 18 months. And I want to say the average now is maybe 36 months, like 24 to 36 months. So between 2 and 3, it used to be between like 1.5 and 2.5. And I truly believe part of it is we were home more, right? Like there was more capacity. We had more things that we could devote our time to this specific situation and skill. And now we're a little bit busier. Things are a little bit more difficult, right? So it's a little bit harder for us to get into them a little bit earlier, but doesn't mean that we cannot do it, right? Just like to kind of put that in there. Ability to remove clothing. So this is, I like to say, just one layer rule, right? You'll hear me say this a few times. So they can at least pull their pants down or their underwear down independently. And this is great for our older kiddos, right? We think about the developmental parts of it, being able to use their fingers, be able to like hold things, move things, clasp things is super important. And it's also something to note, we want simple clothing when we're potty training, right? So no buttons and fastens and zippers, because that just adds another barrier, right? It's hard for them to do those things. We don't want to create extra challenges that they have. So loose pants, Granimals from Walmart all the way through like, whatever fancy brand you might have, all of those work. We just want to make leggings, joggers, things like that, super easy for them to be able to use. You have a question? And then ability to get on and off the potty, right? So that's a big one because we want them to be able to do that, right? So we're going to talk about the different options for pottying, and that's where that will come in just a little bit. Any questions about muscle mastery? Where do you feel like our friend here falls on that?
She does pretty much all that.
Okay.
Only, yeah, she wears her pants now.
Yeah, 100%. And then for our 19-month-old friend in the Zoom, that might be a little bit of a trickier one, right? Because they're still kind of in that early stage of getting that independence, probably just started walking or just getting comfortable walking. So this might be a little bit more on the parent if you were to start now. Another question while I'm kind of on that topic is, when should I potty train, right? Is that kind of rolling around and, okay. So that is dependent on every baby, but I personally have potty trained and helped potty train quite a few children in my day. I'd say anywhere between 2 and 3.5 is a great time to do it. Doesn't mean it needs to be done in that time, no. But given all these benchmarks, that's kind of where they all fall, right? Being able to do most of the benchmarks to help take off some of the load on the caregiver. And I say 2.5 until 3.5, because the older they get, now we've got like will, right? They're like, I know I have some more power and control over my body, and power and control is very important to our toddlers. So now we've got power struggles. So that's just another challenge that we have to do when they're a little older. But then we have less of a challenge with like muscle mastery and body awareness. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? Kind of can pick and choose what struggle you kind of want to work through, I guess, for lack of a better term. Any questions about muscle mastery before we move on? Fabulous. Next is development of routine. So this is where they start with sweat or poop at the same time, right? So now you're, instead of the kind of every diaper change, you're like, there's something in there. Now you can kind of guesstimate, for lack of a better term, when they're gonna go. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the staying dry, right? If their diaper is like full every time you change them, then they're probably not there yet, right? They're not able to hold their urine or their bowel movement. So we might want to wait a little bit. We want them to be able to hold their potty, not only because that shows a body awareness, but also for the sake of your sanity, right? If they're going pretty frequently, that means you're gonna have to have them sit pretty frequently. And we don't want that, right? That's very frustrating for both the child and the parents. And then following simple 2-step, oh yeah, come on in. Hi, oh, another little friend. Yes, you're just in time. You just got into it. Take a seat. Let me give this to you. And we'll talk about what this is and why you have it in just a second. Hi, you're here. So development of routine. I would say follow 2-step instructions because again, the more that they can't do on their own, it falls on the caregiver, right? So that's a little bit more that we have to involve ourselves in the process. Any questions on development of routine? Can you see me okay? Okay, good. Okay.
Like she'll wake up. Maybe at night. And she's dry in the morning. During the night, like her whole diapers have to be like nothing.
Yeah. For the sake of everyone hearing, so she asked is it normal to wake up and she's dry overnight? That's great. Yeah. That's fabulous. That's fantastic.
It's not, it's been a couple of days where she wakes up and it's not flat.
Yeah, no, that's great. And truthfully, once they get to this age, like 2.5, a little bit over 2.5, she is, a lot of times they don't go during the night, guys. Usually it's when they wake up and it's like the release. You know, how, like we get up, we go straight to the bathroom, we kind of like release the floodgates. That's what happens with them. So we'll get to that when we do nighttime potty, and we'll talk about that a little bit deeper. But yes, that's a great sign. It's a fabulous sign. Yeah, you're checking out the checklist. Any other questions before we move on to the next benchmark? Okay, curiosity, this is the big one. Okay, if I put a gold star in any of them, this is the gold star. Because if they're not invested in it, guys, that's, you got your work cut out, right? Because now we're trying to get them to do something they have no interest in whatsoever. And we're talking about the older toddlers, that power, that control, right? If they don't want to do something, then you're in a power struggle every time. And we don't want them to start to despise the thought of going to the potty, right? So the more we have a power struggle, they feel like they're being pushed to do something they don't want to do, the least likely they're going to want to go. So now we're going an uphill battle. Does that make sense? So we'll talk about how we kind of start to get that interest in a little bit, but this is where we want to use that annoying part of it's usually like the early part of childhood, people, they just follow you everywhere, right? Where you're like, why are you in the bathroom with me? And that's usually like your safe space, so you kick them out. Let them in. Let them in, because that's how you can increase the interest, right? They want to be near you, so use that to your advantage, right? Or now, okay, come in and let them see you go to the bathroom. Let them be a part of the bathroom process, even if it's just flushing the toilet or throwing a piece of tissue paper in or washing their hands, because we're getting them excited about this. We're pairing two things they love, or one thing that they love, which is you, and spending time with you, with hopefully the bathroom, right? We want to create that positive association. And if you have siblings, grandparents, friends, maybe they're in daycare and they have a really good friend, like, oh, you know, Sarah goes to the potty too. Like, let them pair those things that they really love, so they want to do it. And then they might have interest in wearing underwear. So you love Maribel, right? We're really into the Encanto. Get some Encanto panties. Why not, right? Lean into that. Does she have a favorite character or anything?
Oh, yes.
Bluey, they've got Bluey underwear, I can promise you that. They probably got like Bluey seats at this point. So like, get them, yes, get them excited. Pair things that they love. Any questions about, and first of all, name, can I get the name of you, for your little one? Bailey, and then LaShonda. Marvelous. Okay, welcome. I'm terrible with names, so I do this and then I'm probably gonna forget. So charge it to my head and not my heart. Any questions about the curiosity or anyone's finding that they're in this stage or trying to work on this stage? This is interactive, guys. The more you talk, the less I have to talk. Go ahead.
She knows that she will go to the potty,
Yeah,
but it's like she show interest when she's not at home.
okay.
Yeah, like,
So like out and about, like if you're in the library, will she?
no,
Oh.
no. If she, sometimes one time at church, she had to go, but if she goes to like home care, she's using the potty, she goes to her grandma's, she's using the potty. She'll use the potty with us for it.
Okay, we'll talk about treats and rewards in just a bit. But we did talk about how a little bit of it is the peer influence, right? So like it sounds like she probably has friends that are going, because how old is she? Two. So yeah, that's where they start to talk potty training all day long in school. So that's probably why she's more prone to doing that. And we'll talk about how we can use a reward system where it doesn't become like an even exchange, right? Because now it's like more of a game than it is like the actual skill building. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Any questions in the chat? We're on Zoom too, guys. So if you see me look over there, that's why I'm over there. Hey. Okay, so now we know the signs, right? We got body awareness, and I'll kind of recap that for you guys. Body awareness is where they might tug at their diaper, they might go hide if they have to poop. Yes, they might hide at the poop, they might take in their diaper change now. So like she's like rolling around, running away from you. All body awareness. Desire for cleanliness is kind of about the same thing, where it's like she doesn't really want the diaper a little bit. She might start playing with it or taking it off because she doesn't want that feeling. And then muscle mastery, I said, is kind of that. I think that's where you came in, right? Where it's like the gold star, I think, a little bit, because and you guys are a little bit on the older spectrum. Weird saying older because they're still so little, but older in this regard. Because we want them to be able to do as much of the process as we can, because that's less on us, right? Because it takes a little bit of us to do this as well, right? So how are we feeling? Let's do a temperature check. How are we feeling about where you guys are on the continuum? You do thumbs up in the Zoom, thumbs up, thumbs down. How are you guys feeling? Pretty good? Okay, pretty good. Okay, fabulous. Any concerns, questions that came up? Good. Okay, we're gonna get into our readiness because what? We need to be ready too, because like I said, this is a relationship. This takes two to tango, and even really a village, right? So what do we need? We need commitment. We need to be committed because potty training is essentially building and breaking a skill, right? Or habit. So we're building the habit of going potty on a potty, breaking the habit of going potty in their diaper or cola. So that takes time. It takes what, 2 weeks, I think, to form a habit, and anywhere from like 6 to 8 weeks to break a habit. So you can see how this is a monster, right? A little bit of a beast. You have to have patience, right? I'm sure you guys have heard it's a big push for gentle parenting. And I like to say that we have to borrow our calm. The science says that like they can't regulate their nervous system, I would say up to the age of like 8 or 9. So they kind of have to borrow our nervous system, right? Our calm. We have to be able to stay calm in a situation where they're a little bit more heightened, which can be easier said than done, right? Because we're human as well. And then consistency. If there's a gold star, consistency would be the gold star. I'm not saying you can't start and stop, but what I'm saying is if you're going to develop a plan, stick with it the best that you can because children thrive in routine and structure across the board, especially when we're talking about the skill habit and building, right? Whether that's potty training, toddler bed, school, any kind of change, right? Consistency. We're gonna go through these one by one again, guys. And then flexibility, and that goes hand in hand with saying that every baby is different. The comparison game is a thief of joy, guys. Don't get stuck in it. No one wins in that game, right? When you're looking at what your sister did, your best friend, dreaded social media, right? Where they're saying, I potty trained my baby in 2 days. It's like, great. But my baby can't do that, right? That doesn't mean that my baby is less competent or I'm less competent. It just means my baby is different. And that's the beauty and the beast of it, right? Let's go through them. Maybe flip your pages over. That's where you're checking them. Commitment. So it's a team effort. Everyone who takes care of your child, whether that's your grandparents, daycare, whoever is in their care while you're doing this should be on the same page. And this goes hand in hand with consistency. So we'll talk about that, but we got to be committed. This is where grandparents play a whole part. Because if you've got grandparents, sometimes they're a little more relaxed. They can either be a blessing or a curse, right? So knowing who's in your care circle and having the conversation of like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is the plan, and everyone's sticking to it. Yeah? Okay. Next is patience. So like I kind of pointed to, we have to be the calm in the storm, right? While they're breaking this habit and forming this habit, there's gonna be some big feelings that come up. And we have to stay calm, be able to let them calm down and be confident in their abilities to do so, right? So I like to say, notice your triggers. So for me, crying is a trigger. I can feel my body tense up and not like the simple crying. I mean, like the crying, right? Like the big, big feelings, big tears. So when I start to feel my body tense up, we have a phrase we say, mommy needs a minute. I need to calm my body. I'll be back in however many minutes, right? Are you safe? Are you okay? And that's what we do. I go, calm my body, and I come back. So finding out what you need to keep your body calm is really, really helpful. Oh, time to ask any questions about, well, this one's a little self-explanatory, I'm sure. If you have questions, just throw them in the chat or just raise your hand. Consistency. So again, gold star, guys. We want to be consistent. So this also goes with, we're going to go through preparing and it'll take a little bit, but we don't want to have like huge meeting deadlines or a huge vacation because then you're not going to have the patience, time, and consistency because you've got other things going on. So you want to find some time where it's relatively slow. Like we talked about how babies are being potty trained earlier. This is where this plays a piece, right? We didn't have 60-hour work weeks. We weren't 2-parent working homes, right? So this is where it kind of plays into figuring out what relatively light looks like for you, right? Because that looks different for other people. It's really nice actually during the winter time because we're not going anywhere anyway. So like letting them just hang out. We're at home anyway. So if you find a weekend where you're like everything's shut down, it's a great time to do it because they're not missing anything, right? But on the other hand, if you know that they're stir crazy because they're not going anywhere, then maybe not, right? Because we don't want them kind of bouncing off the walls and heightened, and then we're trying to do this thing as well. And then yes, family members, caregivers, making sure they're on the same page, again with that commitment. Next is flexibility. So this is where that schedule comes in. There's gonna be up and downs, guys. Like even when they get it, there's gonna be some trials and tribulations as they continue their skill building, even after you've successfully potty trained them, right? My daughter stopped wetting the bed. I mean, I could say not yet. She'll be 6. She's definitely less. But up to age 7 or 8, I believe it is, it's developmentally appropriate to wet the bed, guys. So there's some things we can do to help minimize it, but don't feel like that's a problem or something that needs to be fixed, so to speak. And then being open to trying different techniques and pivoting when necessary. So it's not one size fits all. So don't go and talk to like your best friend and she's like, you just need to have her sit every 30 minutes. So just have her sit every 30 minutes. And then you do it and your child's screaming at you, they're throwing on the potty. You don't have to do that, right? You can pivot, you can do what works for you and your family. That's the beauty and the beast, right? Every child, every journey is different. So our potty is training. How are we feeling about our readiness? Thumbs up, thumbs middle, thumbs down. What are we getting in the chat? Thumbs up, okay. How are we feeling in the chat? Pretty good. A little bit different. I'm sure they're doing a million other things. I love a good virtual workshop, but I'm like cooking and cleaning and changing diapers, so it's totally fine. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. All right, let's get into the stuff that thumbs up. Can you do thumbs up? That's a tricky one. Look at you go. All right, so let's get to what we came here for, right? Preparation. How do we get them excited about this? How do we start once we realize that we're ready and they're ready, right? So the best that we can. We start the conversation early. This is change. We're breaking a skill, building a skill. So we're not gonna just pop it on them. Hey, guess what? No more diapers. You gotta go sit on this thing. They're gonna go, what are you talking about? Like, this is too much. So start it early. The recommendations about 2 weeks. I have to say about a month, right? Give them time to soak it in, digest it. Give you time to be able to find out what their fears are, kind of take your time to figure out what your plan is so that you're all not kind of stressed going into this, right? Give yourself time. Give a warning. Goes in time with that, right? So don't just come in and be like, okay, put your diaper away, we're done. I like to say this is like old school, those paper chains, you know how you like interlock the circles? Kids are visual learners. Put one on, right? So if you're doing 2 weeks, 14 of them. Break them off so there's a visual kind of cue to like, okay, when this is done, that goes away. Another thing is like once this box of diapers are done, that's what I do with my daughter. Once we're done with these diapers, like no more diapers. We're gonna save those diapers for babies. And we have a baby that was born. It was my nephew at the time. So I said, so baby Jay needs these diapers now. We're gonna get big. You see how we kind of pique the interest? Make it concrete for them because right now it's an idea. And they're like, what are you talking about? So when we can make it concrete, it helps. Make a plan and buy supplies. This is where consistency and commitment comes in, right? So making a plan of like, hey, when you have your work trip, when you're done with your work trip around February 20th, we're gonna take that week to really, work on potty training. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna buy. A potty seat. We're gonna get this underwear. We're gonna get these supplies, right? And we'll talk about different supplies that we can get because we don't need a lot, guys, because the baby product world will tell you need a lot. You don't need a lot. And then clear your schedule best to your abilities, because I know we're busy people, but the more we can clear the things that don't really need to be done is the best that we can do to really be able to get into this. Increase their curiosity organically. This is what I mean by like letting them come to the bathroom, watching videos, reading books. The library is a great resource for that. To get books that increase their curiosity. So getting like, I don't know if Encanto had a potty training book. Not yet, they're newer, but Bluey definitely does, I'm sure. Or videos or songs that you can sing that just gets them excited already. And then just pairs those things together. And that's what I buying books and watching videos. And this is where you get to use what you're comfortable with. If you're a no screen household, doesn't need to be videos. Go grab some books, right? So whatever works for your family. Any questions about the preparation stage? Anyone kind of been doing any of these things already? I know you said you were doing vlogs and videos, and she's like, no,
Yeah.
not really. That's fine, that's fine. And it doesn't have to happen. Like, again, this is where you get to choose and figure out what really gets her going, right? Because it could just be singing songs with you, because it sounds like, looks like she really likes to hang out with us. So literally just be like making a potty song that you two sing together while she's going to the bathroom, right? Pairing your two favorite things together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I made a ridiculous song for my daughter where I just said, Mommy loves Ava over and over and over time. Until she sat to relax herself to poop. Pooping was a thing for her. Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it a little bit, but I'll wait for that. I'll wait for that. I'm not gonna end myself. Any other questions? You guys have anything you want to add? No? Anything in Zoom? Okay, good. All right. So what do we need? Well, diapers are what we've been using, right? So if we're talking about breaking a habit, we want to get rid of the thing that they're used to getting in, right? That's where diapers and pull-ups. Pull-ups are a little bit better because at least they can pull them up and pull them down and they don't hold as much. They feel a little bit more. They've got great, this is where I'm a fan of the baby product world. I feel like they've got these underwear that catches it, but lets them feel the wetness. Yeah, so those might be, they did not have those when I was potty training, wish they did, would have saved me a lot of laundry, but that would be a great idea. The point is we want them to feel the wetness. We want to pair something that's adverse, which is something they don't like, with whatever's holding their pee. Does that make sense? So if it's a diaper, they don't feel that, right? It absorbs it. So they don't feel any discomfort. They're just like, okay, whatever, I'll just keep doing this. So we want to at least either bare bottom underwear or those real feel underwear, right? Something that makes them feel the discomfort, that will push them out of wanting to use that habit, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as they go through, they have underwear that's padded. That's the one you see here. There's a bunch of them, like Blue Elephant. I mean, they're all over the place. You can find them in Walmart. And that's great for when they're out of potty, like when they've successfully started going, because again, it holds quite a bit. But then as they kind of are in the beginning stages, it's great to kind of keep the messes, that makes sense. So you're not like soaking through into their car seat and you're having to wash their car seat every 2 weeks or what have you, right? So those are really great once we're fully potty trained. And we'll get through all of it when we go through the different phases. So that's what we put on their bottom. What do we put under their bottom? So there's a potty chair. I like to recommend this for the first few days or up to like whatever, how long you're in the first phase, because we want it to be mobile, especially if you have a very big house or multiple levels. We want to be able to get to the potty as easily and simply as we can, right? So if they've got a favorite poop space, this is where you get to put that potty chair right in that tent. Put it right in the tent, right? So that when they go there, the thing that you want them to go in is right there, easily accessible, right? And this is where you'll get a bunch of different ideas. And this is where you also have to think about your child, because if they get more distracted with like the lights and it becomes a toy, it's not really its intended use. So knowing your child is really important, right? Because you don't want them to start to think like, I'm just gonna go and like press the button so I can sing a song, right? Yeah, so sometimes you might need to get the boring one, right? So that it's not a toy, because we don't want them, having just a good old time, like, okay, I'm done. This is boring now, right? And then as we kind of gradually get more confidence and they're a little bit more independent, potty seats that go on top of the seat. These should be purchased right away because they cannot sit on the potty on their own. They're so tiny. And part of the reason why they don't like big potties is because they don't feel stable, right? They're wobbly. They're afraid they're going to drop in. So we want to make sure that they sit on it, make sure they're comfortable on it. They've got some with and without the ladder. I highly suggest, especially for our younger kiddos, to get the ladder, right? Because then that's one less barrier you have. And then have them practice, right? Like you try to go up and practicing not only with their pants on, but their pants off, right? So that they have to get down with their pants at their ankles, or having them take them all the way off so they're not tripping up the ladder and the stairs, right? All things to think about. And then of course the regular potty as they get older and more confident. And sometimes the regular potty takes some time, even if they master it at home, they may not master it outside into like when you're out and about, because those are scary. They're loud, there's a lot of other people. We talked about the shame and the guilt that comes with potty training. children inherently carry shame and guilt and privacy. So it's a little bit jarring to be in a place big with all these sounds, with all these people. The great thing about the library is that there's like little individual ones, you go to the family bathroom. So maybe sticking to the ones where it's just you guys until they get more confident, super big. I actually had a client that her baby had a severe, it's about 3.5, a severe aversion to the potty. And we figured out it was because of the flush. He didn't like the flush. It was too loud. He was a very high sensitive to sensory. So we took that away. Okay, mommy's gonna flush it. And he potty trained within a week. This is what I mean. Sometimes you just gotta figure out what the barrier is, right? And take that barrier out, or figure out how you can be a team so that they feel more confident. Any questions about what to put on or under their body? No? Good. Any questions in? No? Okay, well, I hope that means that you guys are just getting all this good stuff over there. Okay. So the 3-phase method. Do you guys know about the 3-day method? You heard that one?
We did try that.
Okay.
Yeah, over.
Yes. And it was it stressful? Let me not put words in your
It
mouth.
wasn't, it was, we just did no pants.
Okay.
No anything, and she was going very frequently, like, what was we giving her? We didn't give her anything, like, at first, we was just celebrating. Yeah, we was just like over the top,
Yeah.
and then, we both in education, so we had Christmas break, so we tried it then, and it was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she got a pot for the school, and then a pot for her grandkids, and it's been that, but then since we've been back to work, it's been a little lax.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 3-day method, it was very successful, wasn't, any messes.
Okay.
She pooped then, but she's not pooping now.
Okay. We'll talk about that. We put pooping as a separate topic we're gonna talk about because it is a separate beast. So just to, for all the,
Question in the chat.
Yeah.
Did I understand that we should start with pull-ups when potty training?
okay, so this is how I like to progress. If you want to use pull-ups, I would say I would do that when you're doing your warning, right? So that they can start to get used to pulling it up and down, so they can start working on that muscle mastery part of it. I would not advise pull-ups if we're talking about like the actual active potty training, because it still gives that diaper-esque feel, right? We want to take away that habit. So if we keep something that even remotely resembles it, and this depends on each child, because some children do it pretty well, put pull-ups. But by and large, I found that it's a little too close to diapers for them to like see the difference. So yes and no. I would say in the warning phase, like those 2 weeks, whatever, or a month that you're doing the warning, talking about getting rid of diapers. And then we'll talk about what we're gonna do, just a bit of like how we're gonna get into the active potty training. Did that answer their question? Feel good about that? I wanna make sure before I keep going. No worries. If not, just go. Okay, good. Anything else? And I want to say this is an adaptation of the 3-day method. And I do phases because I don't want you to feel pigeonholed to like, if you don't do this in this day, you can do day 1 the same day, or phase 1 for 3 days, and then phase 2 is a day, and then phase 3 is a week. So it just shows you what to look for and how you go to the next one. Does that make sense? Okay. So essentially the progression is, I peed and pooped, so it's past tense, right? It's that awareness. They start to learn that like, oh, something's coming out of me, and now I notice it, right? That's the first thing, the first phase, what we want them to realize. The second is the active act of doing it, right? So now it's I'm peeing, I'm pooping, right? They're verbalizing it as it happens. So it's not like an after effect. It's like, oh, wait, it's coming out of me, right? It's a progression. And then lastly, I have to, right? So now they start to feel the sensation, and they're like, oh, I need to start going. Does that make sense? So that's our benchmarks, right? That they went from I peed to I am to I have to. We're gonna go through each one of these. You're gonna get these slides, guys. So you will get, no, you can take your notes 100%. And you're gonna get the slides and the prep potty book as well.
What if they're senior in between the 3 stages? Because she's been, I've noticed by her, she's done all 3.
Yeah.
Like just this morning, she said I had to pee and she went.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but another day, she's like, yeah, I peed.
And it's really like we're the furthest you've gone, right? So I'd say she's more in the 3 phase and she's just in the after. So like, I want to really stress that like, once you successfully potty train, meaning they're going more often than not, it's an ongoing process. She's still really little.
She
She's
just
still.
pull up too. So
Okay,
when we
okay, yeah.
get panties and then it was a mess.
Yeah.
But she felt it. She
Yeah.
said, oh, and,
Yes.
and then, but she is actively in pull-ups, and I do notice that she'll say after it's full, like, change my diaper. So first she was calling it a pull-up, now she's back calling it
Mhm.
a diaper.
Yeah.
And, yeah, she's kind of comfortable. She's comfortable.
Yeah, and that's fine. And we want them to be uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're comfortable, change only happens when we step outside of our comfort zone. So if we don't push them a little bit, they're gonna stick right where they're comfortable. Because they're not gonna push the needle. They're like, I'm good here. Like, we're all gonna be good. So to reiterate for those on the Zoom, they were saying that they're kind of in between some of these. This is why I like to say a phase and not like so what happens if you're in the middle? So really what we want to say is that wherever they get to the front, like she more times than not is saying, I have to, I would say she's in this phase, right? And she's just more trying to figure out the after. So I get curious, and you shared that you get pull-ups sometimes. I get curious, like what is keeping her going backwards, right? So like, what do we need to eliminate, change, tweak to help keep progressing her forward, right? And so for our friend in the audience who said, let's take the pull-ups away, right? Because that's a comfort for her. We want her to be uncomfortable just a bit so that she doesn't want to do that anymore, right? Okay, let's go through all of them so we can make sure we have enough time for good pace though. So phase one, this depends, right? If your child's going, so this is where we want to know about like that body awareness part and develop routine. You want to know how frequently are they going. If your child is now going like twice a day pooping and maybe every so often peeing, we might bump up our liquid intakes a little bit because in this part we want them to frequently feel the sensation, right? So that they can start to put it together that something's coming out. Because right now it's involuntary, right? They're like, oh, it's passive, they don't feel it. So we want to have more opportunities for them to understand what's going on. So we increase it just a bit. Don't do too much, especially for bare bottoms, because then you're just wiping up messes quite a bit. But that is the part of the first phase, right? Because they don't feel it. So that's what we want them to feel. So it's gonna be a lot of messes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's gonna be a lot of messes. For this phase with my daughter, my son was a little bit different. This is how I knew my son wasn't ready, because he would go, I did the bare bottoms, he was probably about 2.5, a little less than 2.5, and he was playing on his little train table, bare bottom, he squatted, pooped, and just walked away. I was like, oh no, we're gonna put diapers, and we benched it for like a month or two, and we came back and we potty trained, but I was like, no, I wasn't ready. So I'm like, I'm not doing this. He literally just went and just like walked away, and there's this big pile of poop on the floor. So we want to make sure that we know kind of where our capacity is. So if you go bare bottoms and they're just going and there's like no interest, like you go through the whole day, maybe day and a half, and they're just completely unbothered by it, then maybe not. You could, but that's gonna be a lot of frustration for you, right? Because they're clearly not bothered by it. We want them to be a little bothered, right? Close proximity to potty. So this is where that potty seat, right? The one that moves with you is super important. Because you want them to have it, I'd say like, it needs to be less than like 6 inches away at all times. So that needs to be attached at your hip. If you can put a clip on you and just clip it to you, that's golden. We want them to be as close to the potty as possible. Because we want them to make it successful, right? Because if we want, the more they have success, children love to feel good. They love to be celebrated. So the more they have the success and we can celebrate that, the more they're gonna be like, yes, I want to keep doing this, right? And this is really great to know if your child is really bothered by not like disappointment, right? They're not good with disappointment. This is where we really want to be very cognizant of their successes, right? Because they get a little bit demoralized when they're not having the success. So we want to make sure we're like really giving them an increased chance of success, right? So they don't feel like they're failing essentially, because they want to make us proud essentially. Bare bottom. So I like this to be B-A-R-E, so pretty. Bare bottoms. We want them to know how it feels. So I like to say you can also use those, like I said, those real feel ones now. I made this way before I discovered those, because I'm not really in the baby product game anymore. My children are much older. But you want something to make them feel it, whatever that is. So it's not a diaper, usually not a pull, right? Depending on how old your child is. And then we want to verbalize. So we want to say, remember how we want them to realize to say like they peed, they pooped. If they're not realizing it, we're saying something like, oh no, like we've got a mess, let's clean it up so that they start to put it together, right? And not scolding, very big. We're not scolding and be like, oh gosh, again, right? Be mindful of our reactions. It's like, oh no, we made a mess. Next time, let's just make sure we get it in the potty. We'll do better next time. Let's clean it up, move about our day, right? Very quick, very simple, very strategic. And then look for cues. Every child has them, and this is where you knowing your child is super important. The potty dance, the hiding in the tent, the hiding in the corner, right? You know your child better than anyone. So when you're in that warning phase, start to like see what they do when they go, right? Like, what do they do before that? Start to take mental note. I also like to say, this goes hand in hand with development of routine. See how long it takes for them to go to the bathroom, especially pooping. Peeing's a little bit harder, right? Because you can't really see or smell it. So you're kind of like, you don't really know. But for poop, see how long it takes for them to go after they eat or what have you. So that you can start to time your attempts more effectively. And this is where we go away from that harmful, like sit every 30 minutes, because if we're thinking about what that looks like from a child's perspective, they're getting pulled away from things they want to do to sit for something. If they don't do anything, now they're like, I'm sitting for no reason. So at some point they get sick of it, right? They're like, there's nothing happening here. All I know is you keep taking me away from my trains, from Bluey, from playing with my brother, whatever it is. So we want to strategically time our attempts. That makes sense. We don't want them just sitting willy-nilly. Does that make sense? Yeah? And then praise, praise, praise. And this also looks different for every child. There are some children that do not like to be overly celebrated. So if you see them retreat or recoil or like hide away or shrinking themselves, and dial it back. If you see them like light up, ramp it up, right? Maybe a little song you play, maybe it's a dance you do, maybe it's some high fives, whatever works for your child. And then you'll know when to move on to the next phase, but if by the end of the day or end of that phase, they start to verbalize or show that they've peed, like they're saying like, oh, I peed, mommy, or they might say, I have to pee, or I am peeing. All great signs, right? Then we can move on to the next phase. Does that feel good, everyone? Any questions? I'll give a couple seconds for those in the chat. If not, it just stop me if they did. Okay. Phase 2. So if phase 1 went swimmingly, what I mean by swimmingly is that they're like really into it, really engaged, they start to show enthusiasm, then we can start sitting on the big potty with a potty seat, right? So this is where we can start gradually to go on there. We can kind of leave the potty seat away or potty chair away. We can start using the big potty because we want them to have some attempts and some success with that before we start bringing them out to big potties in the world, right? Because that's very scary. Another baby product or child product that came out is portable potties. There are portable potties that you can take that are like small potty seats that you can take that have like bags or some kind of way to catch it so that you can throw it away. So they're like, absolutely not. I'm not sitting on a big potty or I'm not going to the bathroom. I had a friend that kept it in her van. They let it go in like the back of the van. She tied it up and threw it away. And so they were comfortable being able to go on the big potty. This is what I mean by meeting them where they're at, right? We don't want to push them past their capacity because that's going to make them retreat more likely than not, right? Or make them not want to do it at all. And that's how you get to the baby that I told you that had the complete potty aversion. Like he had like full on meltdowns anytime they even mentioned the potty. It was just too much. They pushed them past his capacity. You can implement a reward. And let me tell you why rewards can be helpful and when they can be harmful. A reward is great if your child is very driven and encouraged by rewards, but it should be a delayed gratification. So what I mean by that is sticker charts, right? So you put a nice little poster board, sticker chart, let it be a character, whatever you want, get creative. They put stickers for every time they have a successful attempt. And once they get a certain amount of stickers, they get a treat. And let it be a treat that's conducive, that's not too big. I don't go get like a Barbie house from Target. I had a client that every time her son, this is the same one, every time she go get something from Target, you see how that can get really old really quickly. And now he's not doing it because he wants to be successful. He wants something. And then when she stopped doing it, he stopped going, right? So that delayed gratification, and maybe it's like an extra 5 minutes on the screen. A snack that they really love that you don't let them get all the time, right? It doesn't have to be a popsicle. It can be like yogurt, right? Like you get to choose what that looks like for you. But we want it to be something that's not too gratifying, that they start to do it for the treat, but just enough where they want it. Does that make sense? And figure out where your sweet spot is for how many attempts they need to keep them engaged. So don't do like 15, because that's a lot, right? So maybe 5 and see how they do. Then you increase to 7, and then maybe to 10 as they get more and more confident. Does that make sense? And then make the sticker part exciting, right? Like, okay, let's go pick your sticker. Which sticker do you want? Okay, go put it on the chart and like really big it up, right? So that's how we can do reward charts. If you start to realize that they're like asking for the reward before they even sit, that's when we need to dial it back, right? That's a good indication that now they're not really doing the skill we want them to. Does that make sense? Great. Any questions? Good. Okay. You can introduce loose pants. So before you guys got here, I talked about loose pants. There are like droopy crotch kind of pants. I think Walmart has them. I want to say Amazon has them so that they can feel it a little bit, but it catches it. 1 layer rule, right? So like you're not going to do underwear and pants until they've mastered it, right? Until we've got to the point where they're having little to no accidents. Then you can put a couple layers on. But when we're talking about them pulling things up, path of least resistance. So if it's just 1 layer and they can easily pull down, that's best. So joggers, leggings, things that are easily able. We don't want to be too tight or too hard for them to get down, right? Because if they're tugging and tussling with it, that's an increased opportunity for an unsuccessful attempt, and we don't want those, right? We want to limit those. You can pull out your underwear to start getting them excited, right? So like in the warning phase, I say go in and like let them scroll and look at the different underwear, right? Oh, we want bluey princesses, we want, what have you. Then you order them. Don't take them out just yet. Wait a little bit, right? Like, okay, they're gonna be here and we're ready for them. This is when you take them out. Like, okay, once we start going to potty more, we can put these on, right? Get them excited. And then praise, right? Every time, praise, praise, praise for anything. In this phase, it's more of anything they get in the potty, even if it's just a drop. We're like, oh goodness, okay, that's great. You did such a good job. We're gonna get more, even more in there next time, right? Like get them excited, praise them, make them feel good about what they do. You'll know when this is successful, and we can move on to the next phase, if they start to notice when they hear food, or they start to verbalize it before it happens, right? All good signs. Or they even start to go towards the potty, right? Either go or sit on their own. That's all great signs that we can move on to the next phase. That feel good? Yeah? Okay. The last phase, this is where we get to the point where frustration sometimes can peak, right? Because if you had a really good second phase or even you get to the third phase and then they regress a little bit, sometimes it'd be demoralizing for us, right? This is where we have to check in with ourselves of like, how am I responding to them when they have accidents, right? So when you go a couple days with no accidents, and all of a sudden they're peeing everywhere again, you can be like, oh, and they feel that, right? So we want to be really mindful of that, our reactions to our accidents. We can do them more time on the big potty, right? So more increase of that. If they're really comfortable with being on their small potty, don't push it, right? Don't push it. If they're like, I don't want to go on there, and they're doing just fine on the little potty seat, let them stay on the potty seat, right? We want them to be confident. We don't want to push them too much. Have them start practicing. And I like to say scaffolding is what it's called. So maybe you start with having it halfway down and have them finish it. So they can just get used to that. And then you go a little bit higher up until they can do it all by themselves. Does that make sense? And then you can do short trips. Yay! You can start going and getting out of the house all of a sudden. Reward yourself, maybe a Target run. Go somewhere where they have bathrooms, preferably a bathroom that's private, unless they are pretty good with going to big potty. And then just making sure you have extra underwear, extra clothes, right? Those kind of things. And you really want to make sure they go every time you get somewhere and before you leave somewhere, right? So think about that. So if we're leaving from home, we're sitting before we go. And if they didn't go, we're sitting when we get to the new place, right? We want to make sure we have ample opportunities for them to go. And this is where we can you can really lean on your electronics. I'm a big person, put calendars, put a reminder of like, when you're going to make it there, you put a reminder to pop on your phone so you don't forget, right? Because it's kind of on us to set the tone until they can do it themselves. This is why it's a two-way street, yeah? Okay. And then praise, keep piling it on, especially if they start to go in public, like those bigger milestones. They're pooping on the potty. Yes, we're doing all the things, put out all the stops. And you'll know the phase 3 is successful if they begin to voice the need, they go on their own, or they start to have more success on the potty than not. That means that you have gotten through the thick of it, right? We're not done, but we got through the thick of it, right? We got them into this, we broke a habit and we're starting to build this habit to the point where it's really, really strong, right? And I want to say that because although we've completed it, you may have regressions, you may have accidents. We're going to talk about both of those. And we want to make sure that it's a lifelong thing, but it's a continued journey, right? At least to about 7 or 8. We want to make sure that we're kind of being mindful. I just stopped telling my daughter, I still kind of, even for my 9-year-old, I still kind of let them know, I'm like, hey, you haven't went in a while. We're gonna have a long drive. Like, let's go to the potty, right? And this is another thing, especially for our strong-willed babies, our 3-year-olds, our 4-year-olds, false choices. This is what I like to say. This is how you present it. Because if you say, do you want to go to the potty? And they say no, and you're like, we're going anyway. Now we've got a power struggle, right? So instead of saying that, we're not going to phrase it as a question, because it's not a question. It's more like we need to go. It's, how do you want to go to the potty? Would you like to walk? Would you like me to carry you? Do you want to go to the little potty, the big potty? So we're getting them options. It's a false choice because you get the result that you want, but they get to choose the journey. That makes sense? So it's like, do you want to hop, skip? Do you want to sing a song? Like, how are we getting to the potty? We're getting to that potty, right? We don't want to phrase anything a question that they can't say no to, right? Because that's where the power struggle happens. And then when we finish this and we get to the end, don't be afraid to do a potty party. Make it a whole thing. Like, we're going to get rid of the diapers. We're going to pull out our underwear. We're going to have some songs, maybe a favorite snack. Like, really make it exciting. So they want to keep going, right? Super, super, super great. Okay. Any questions about any of the phases before we move into, I think, nighttime potty? Good? Oh no, pooping on the potty is next. We're pooping on the potty. So this one's a big one. So you might master peeing on the potty. Maybe you might get some poop in there every once in a while because it usually comes hand in hand. But a lot of them pooping on the potty, why it's such a hard thing for them, it's like they're losing a piece of them, if you think about it. It's really weird, foreign, it's uncomfortable. So they sometimes take a while to get to this, right? Because it's literally like something coming out of their body. And they've done some studies, they've asked children, like, I feel like they're losing a part of them, right? So it's kind of jarring for them. So here are some tips that we can have to help ease it a little bit. Squatting. So the way that we sit on the potty is not very conducive to like how we're supposed to sit. Our knees should be higher than our hips. So they have like squatty potty is what it's called. That just gets them a little higher. You can put books, like you can literally use whatever you have in your house. Just making sure their knees a little bit higher than their hips, because that's the natural way they poop. That's why my son pooped when he squatted down to like look at his tray, right? So that will help. Set a timer. Anytime you can take away you being the villain, do it, right? So like you put a timer on for 20 minutes. Okay, Alexa's going. How are we getting to the potty, right? It's time to go sit, right? Let Alexa, let your phone, whatever. Let them be the villain, right? You're like, oh, well, Alexa says, we got to do it, right? Now you're on their team. They're on their team and Alexa's the problem, right? Create a distraction. So this is where I sang that song. I could probably say it like half my life, it feels like. You want them to be relaxed, right? Because pooping, if you're tense, it feels a little bit, it's a little harder to go, right? So we want them comfortable. I even held my daughter's hand. I sat down on the floor with her. So like whatever helps them relax and ease their body will help with pooping. And I don't have it on here, but I want to also say, making sure they're hydrated, make sure they're not constipated, because if it's uncomfortable or if it's like a really big poop that just really traumatized them, they're not gonna want to poop either, right? If they're constipated, they have to squeeze and push and then feel that pressure, that can put off a lot of children as well. So making sure they're adequately hydrated and not constipated as well. Having them sit backwards is another one. You can even, if you have an old school toilet, because there are lots of different ones, you can put some paper and let them draw, right? Make it mindless so that they're not thinking about it, right? So that they're just distracted and it happens. Keep the door open or close it. So depending on how they feel, if they hide, then they probably don't want you in there, right? So you can say, do you want me to close? It's for the false choices, giving them some control in it. Would you like the door open or closed? Do you want me in here with you or outside? Whichever one feels good for them, right? You can use electronics for those, you're comfortable and sparingly, right? We don't want it to become the enticing, where they're like, okay, give me your phone, right? They're like asking for maybe into the potty. They're like, maybe not. They can also just be where you bring the speaker in the bathroom and you just listen to music, right? It's still electronics, but it's not as addictive, right? Warm baths. You'll find that they might poop in the bath because their body is as relaxed as it comes, right? So you might want to have them sit in the bath if they haven't gone in a while or what have you. Just be mindful if they start to kind of wiggle or do their little dance, get them out of there, get them on the potty, right? Bring it in the bathroom if they're still on the seat, right? Or have the potty seat on the potty so that you can easily get them on there, right? And then be mindful of celebrating. If you find, we talk about that shame, right? So if they are a little bit more private about that, my son is, he does not like anyone to know that he poops, so we didn't celebrate. We were like, because then he's like, what are you doing? And he didn't want us to know, right? So be mindful, if they don't like to be celebrated, then we're not gonna celebrate. We're gonna let them have that moment to themselves. You just ask them, are you okay? Do you need any help? No? And we move on, right? That's it. And then dump the poop. So part of it, like I said, is the experience of having something come out of them and not knowing where it goes, right? They're kind of like, what is going on? Where is this piece of me going? So this is another part of when they're in diapers and things like that. I would put their poop, especially when it's solid, like obviously when it's like gross and they've got like loose poop, not so much, but if they've got like a solid poop, I just throw it in the toilet and let my daughter flush it, right? So she can get used to seeing it before it's coming out of her, right? So she get used to know this is where it's going. It goes down the potty and it goes away, right? And then we said bye-bye poop. And until like 4 or 5, she said that's her poop. So yeah, let them get used to the phenomena of like their poop going somewhere outside of their diaper. Because again, they don't know where it goes when it's in their diaper. They just know that it's there one time and it's gone the next. Now they're more aware of it, right? So making sure that we give them ample opportunity to understand it. Have conversations with them. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Let them be a part of their journey. It will cause you a lot of, or it will save you a lot of insanity, I promise. Any questions about pooping in the pod? Good. Did I answer it? Because I know that was, what was it? Yeah? Okay. Let's talk about nighttime training. So typically, once we start to see more success in the daytime, it naturally progresses to the nighttime. So some things we can do to kind of push them a little bit more is, first of all, for your sanity, mattress covers. They've got great protective layers where it's like a sheet on the top and waterproof layer in the middle. I like to call it the lasagna method. Buy 2 or 3 of them, put them 1, 2, 3, so that as she goes, you take it off and you just go right back to bed, right? Because no one wants to be changing sheets in the middle of the night, right? That's a lot. And another thing that people ask in this moment is, do I need to put them into a toddler bed when we potty train? No, not necessarily. But that means it's a little bit more on you now that you need to be up when you hear them. You need to be racing to the room to get them out, take the diaper, pull up off, and have them sit on the potty, right? You have to be proactive. We don't want too much time in that thing that they're used to, right? Because they're going to revert back to their comfort levels. Does that make sense? Okay, so as soon as they get up, we're sitting on the potty. And then we're also making sure that they try when they first wake up. And then also after dinner and before bed, right? So we want to make sure that we are limiting our liquids at least an hour before bed so that they're not having a full bladder, right? And making sure they're going multiple times before they go to bed. So after dinner, before bed. And then also keeping a well-lit path to potty. So depending on where the potty is, if you want to keep the potty chair in the room, that's a great option. But if you need to take them out of the room, they're afraid of the dark, keeping things lit, right? We don't want them afraid of to go to the potty, especially at nighttime. We're almost done, guys, I promise. Got one more thing with regressions, and then I'm gonna let you cover. So regressions, why do they happen? They may not have been fully potty trained, and you need to go back a phase or 2, right? They move too quickly. Maybe they're stressed, because yes, children get stressed. Maybe you just moved. Maybe you just went to a new classroom. Maybe you're having a baby. This is another thing we're talking about, schedules and planning. Do not do it in a lot of time transitions, right? Because that's going to increase their stress level. And children find ways to control when they feel out of control. And the things they control is what they eat and what comes out of them, right? So the first two things that kind of get impacted by that, right? So all of a sudden they're having accidents every day. That's all they can control, right? They might have medical or health reasons. Again, up to age 8 or 9 is medically okay, is developmentally okay. If you get past that and they're having really bad slip ups, then you might want to talk to your pediatrician, right? It might be a medical reason. And they may have a fear of the potty. This is where we have older children that can talk to your children. I noticed you've been having some harder time getting the potty on. I wonder how I can help you. Make sure you're doing it as a collaborative effort, not like you're doing something. How can I, mommy, daddy, whatever, help you, right? I'm on your team. Be a team player. And we want to avoid punishing, right? Like, oh, again, now we're gonna take away your screen time. Because now we're putting a negative connotation to it, right? Now we're like, oh, well, this thing is causing me undue chaos, so I don't want to do it anymore, right? Gentle reminders, right? This is where we come in. Make sure we're telling them, if you notice that they need a little bit more help, give them a little bit more help. They're telling you that they're not ready yet to do it independently, so we step in, right? That's where we come in. And then try or reintroduce the reward system. If it worked, bring that bad boy back, right? Why not? Let's run it again to keep them engaged and excited about it. Any questions about handling regression? Okay. You guys are gonna get this free resource. I will send it to Gretchen. Gretchen will email all of you. This has a lot of what's in the PowerPoint, so it'll be this and the PowerPoint, so you guys can go back and read any notes. If you could scan this and fill out my questionnaire, I would love that. I'd love to hear feedback, so I'll make sure that I'm always keeping, oh, did you need the link, Gretchen?
I have it
Okay, perfect.
and yeah, I'll link it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. You are free to go and hopefully on your way to some diaper-free days, guys. Thanks for spending your Saturday with us. Thank you.